What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday night. It's the Phantom Empire show. We're talking Friday the 13th. It sounds like something. You know what? I'm going to go one step further. I can almost guarantee something is happening on Friday the 13th. And I do think we're going to get a chance to find out what that is this year. And I think much like Halloween, there's multiple pieces at play. So let's dive into that and what a new Friday the 13th movie might look like. I have a feeling some people on this panel are going to shit on me with what I want. But anyways, without further ado, the panel tonight. First up, he's the host of the Take One podcast, host of the Overlooked Drive-In, which debuts August the 22nd here on the Phantom Empire YouTube channel. It's Mr. Bish. What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Good to be back. Full panel. Excited for this. So let's go, man. I'm ready to get into it. Good news all over the board. Ready to dive into this Friday the 13th, man. That's good news for us all. So
it sounds promising, and you know, until something happens, you never want to count your chickens, but it's exciting to know that we may have new Friday and new Nightmare content or Elm Street content coming quite soon, and quite possibly not the end of Halloween content either. So it's almost like and then you have The Exorcist, you have Hellraiser, like everything's kind of going right now. It's rejuvenation time for horror. Also joining us tonight, he is the host of the Rick and Morty fan show. It's Kieran. What's going on, man? Oh, he's muted. He's now not muted.
Not too much. I just got back from work, like right away, came back and like scooped some dinner into my mouth, and now I'm like, boom, on the internet really quick. So, good to go.
Nice. Good shit. Also joining us, fresh off of a birthday, it's Jer from the Dark Match Drive. What's going on, man? Lots of wrestling to talk about.
Oh yeah, it's been a busy day as usual. It's just nonstop. No, I have to wait for the weekend, and I'm back doing this show. Although I don't know why we're covering Friday the 13th. Like, it's literally Tuesday the 9th. Do you guys not check the calendar?
I see there's more Vince McMahon to talk about, which was not originally on the show notes, but
we are up to over $19 million in payments,
and it's not done yet. Correct? Like,
no.
It's continuing. Wow.
Just keep
that's more than he got for the XFL. So
it's like that yodeling guy who keeps climbing up the mountain. It just keeps getting higher.
Also joining us this evening, he is the host of I am fucking drawing a blank on your Twitch channel, bro. But he's sporting a Dan Housing shirts. Johnny, what's Twitch channel? Bros before hose, right?
No. Hose would get me banned.
Oh my God, I got
I mean, yes, pros before hose, but that's a different conversation.
I got Mike Bish on the mind.
Bros before pros.
Pros before hose. I mean, that would be a decent channel too. I mean,
sure, if you wanted to get banned immediately.
You could do the reverse. You could do.
How would that be a good channel? I want to see the hose.
You gotta see the bros first. That's why it's bros before hose.
Hose above all. That would be a great channel.
Also joining us tonight, it's a new member of the team who claims he's the best staff. It's T. Brad. You look awful lot like Tommy B, man. What's going on?
It's called the midlife crisis.
Yeah. You know, because I'm not the only one of this staff here who's an old ass. So hanging in there, you know, coming fresh off of I was here last week, but I had a nice long vacation and so on and so forth. Back and here to have at it. Oh shit, I've been back longer than I thought.
You're not having a midlife crisis, are you, Tommy B?
Yeah, I'm not that fucking old, dude.
And now you're pretending to be another character?
He's looking for a convertible.
No.
What is that?
No. Although I do have a bunch of folks at work trying to get me into D&D, so that's one thing.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's a whole nother story, though. They're trying to do a campaign on the clock.
Love D&D.
Never played it.
I don't see how that sounds like a problem to me.
I can't run group therapy. I'm running my D&D group.
Yeah, totally. So it's, things are going. We got stuff to talk about. I, of course, am the best staff member here. Just thought we all need.
I don't think that's a competition. I think that's hands down.
You think it's hands down? All right.
Yeah,
I thought some of us might need a reminder.
Sorry, Kieran. You're about third or fourth on the panel.
If we disagree, he'll beat us with his dildo collection.
I can't quite see how we're looking in with the numbers right now, but I'm getting really zucked over with the promos tonight. I'm getting zucked dry, and if you can't see,
you're getting what? What the fuck is wrong with you? Last week it's peeing, now you're getting zucked dry?
The pattern here is fucking Zuckerberg, because Facebook is fucking zucking me over. Try to get these fucking promos out.
Holy fuck. Somebody
we can't bring you anywhere.
I don't know what's gotten into Tommy.
I guess I'll just go zuck myself, right?
I'm
I don't know. You might need to take a rib or two out, but have fun.
Dean asked, where's Solid Saturn? And, of course, he appeared. Way to go, Dean. Thanks a lot, dude. That one's on you.
He's probably not here because I got zucked over with the fucking promos.
Oh, my God. You know what? I'm not going to fuck with StreamYards because it was shitty last night. I was going to remove Tommy, but I'll avoid doing that stuff. So there's some pretty cool shit to talk about tonight, but before we do, this was not on the show notes, but I know we've talked about it in the staff chat. I think it's really important to start here. She was a living legend in the industry as of, I believe it was yesterday. Olivia Newton-John has passed away, which is obviously terribly tragic, and she fought cancer for 30 plus breast cancer for 30 plus years, and obviously known as a actor and a singer, Grease being the big one that people look at. But she's done so much more than that. I just wanted to give everybody a second to maybe give a thought or two on Olivia Newton-John. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. Weirdly enough, I was not really a fan of Grease growing up. I think it's probably more of a girl's thing than a guy's thing, but we used to, at my group home, have Grease Sundays like once a month, and we would just watch that, and we dress up all the people and the guys who dress up in greaser uniforms, and we just watched it once a month with all the people at the group home, which was awesome, and it was like a fun, cheery day. And now I really love that movie. So it's funny, I've become a fan of it in the last 4 years maybe, and it's actually one of my better memories at the group home. So, and yeah, it's awesome. I got into the legendariness of that movie, and now it's actually it's something I can watch quite often now. It's pretty awesome, and obviously a big part of it. She's really the main character. A lot of people think about John Travolta because he went on to have such a crazy career after that, but she's really the focal point of that movie, and she's a legend. So definitely some respect coming from me.
I remember it was a few years ago, maybe even longer than that now, after John Travolta's son tragically passed away. He got on stage at one of her concerts, and with no prep, there was no rehearsal whatsoever. And they did the Grease bit, the Grease ending at her concert. And or at least they say there was no rehearsal, and it just, I don't know, it was very moving. It was cool. It wasn't perfect, but it was really good. And I think that it was just a really moving moment to watch. And obviously she was a tremendous talent. And I'm glad you picked that out, because I think when people talk Grease, the first name they go for is John Travolta. And I would argue the first name that people should be going for is Olivia Newton-John.
Oh yeah, the movie's way more about her. She does way more of the lifting, and even most of the parts with Travolta where he sings along with other people, and there's a lot of parts where she sings solo, and a lot harder bits. She's definitely more of a singer than Travolta is. Travolta may have the dancing on her, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Kieran. Growing up, I used to go to my grandmother's house every Friday night or every other Friday night, and we would always get food. And she just had like the biggest VHS collection I've ever seen in my life. I saw Jaws over there for the first time, Titanic. I mean, so many classic movies. And I remember watching Grease for the first time, and I thought it was good. I didn't really, but as a kid, I just didn't like fall in love with the film like I did, Jaws and Titanic and other films that I saw over there. But the older I've gotten, I've revisited this movie several times, and I've grown to appreciate it in a sense, like Kieran said that he did. And Olivia Newton-John is just an absolute legend. And you go through and you talk about everybody that paid their respects over the past day or so. And obviously the one that sticks out is John Travolta's tribute to her. Just his words. I'm not going to read it. I don't have it in front of me, but if you take the time, go to his Instagram and just read the caption, it's moving. And they created such a great film, one of the best ever. And it's sad that we've lost a true pioneer like Olivia Newton-John, because she was a trooper for so many reasons. But the fact that she battled cancer for as long as she did just goes to show how strong she is. And then obviously her whole movie career and singing career as well is just on another level. So rest in peace to to a legend.
Steven says Olivia's song is playing on the beach scene in Jaws right before Alex gets eaten. That's a pretty deep pull.
Nice call out.
Anybody else want to dive in on the?
I mean, to me, it's very simply, she created a song about sex that turned into a weight loss anthem. I'm mesmerized by that. Like she sings a song about sex in such an upbeat way that just nobody realizes that's what it's about until all of a sudden you're in your mid-20s and you're feeling nostalgic and you hear it on the radio or something and you're like, oh my God, they played this in elementary schools in gym class.
Dude, my school used to play the Macarena every morning, and then like people figured out what that was about.
Well, I mean, that one's at least in a foreign language, so you can kind of excuse that one, but
they'd make us all do it in the auditorium, like 600 students. And by it, I mean the Macarena.
Oh,
I mean, we didn't have that. We had the chicken fat, and I had flashbacks of that. And Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the Amazon show, had it in one of the seasons. Just Vietnam flashbacks for me.
Yimmy says I was going to be named Olivia if I was born a girl. I was going to be Tara if I was born a girl. So
I never asked because I was surprised.
Now you can. Interesting conversation to have. Upon the Ventura says, dude, so rediscovering Olivia Newton-John. She had an amazing voice. You all need to check out her 78 to 84 stuff on iTunes, especially the music from Twist of Fate. Really great stuff. Amazing woman. Definitely. And I've seen a lot of people post that, she succumbed to cancer after 30 years. Well, look, not a lot of people fight cancer for as long as she did. So I'm going to try to look at it as a glass half full and say that she kicked cancer's ass for 30 plus years. And
I mean, 3 different bouts too. Like, not just the years, but 3 different iterations of it. Like that's,
and still lived into her 70s, living the very active lifestyle she had. So that's pretty incredible if you ask me. Probably speaks volumes of her character. Jared, Tommy, any Grease memories or Olivia Newton-John memories?
No, nothing. I can't say much as Arabian said. Same as my had a family member, very, very, very into Grease, and so I saw my fair share of times growing up. Legend in the industry, comfort and peace to all mourning and what have you. I'll just also throw out there, I was today years old when I learned about the hidden meaning of the Macarena.
That's fair. I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. Grease was a movie that really represented a time and place in history, not only within the film, but the film itself. And yeah, it sucks. And, you know, it's sad that she had to battle for this long. And thankfully, she left us with a lot of great memories and music and movies. And, you know, it sucks.
It does. Anyways, I never thought I'd talk about Olivia Newton-John on the channel, but I'm glad we did, and there was some pretty deep thoughts. So appreciated, fellas. Let's move on to something. Sorry.
Are you gonna let us in, or
I'm just reading the chat. I don't have control of the buttons.
If I let you in, it'll be me disappearing randomly, so I'll keep you updated. Anyways, let's move on to something more positive. Friday the 13th is apparently looking to make its comeback to our movie screens. Producer Roy Lee let slip that we are likely going to see or hear, pardon me, an announcement regarding another installment in the Friday the 13th franchise. There's been some other rumors going on about that since Roy made those comments. Everybody seems to be pointing at November and December as possible times for something to be announced. Everybody, I know technically the court case never got to a satisfying resolution, and things are still messy. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people have always said, hey, if there's a chance for both of these guys to make a significant amount of money and another party comes in to get them on the same page, then it opens up possibilities. And it sounds like that may have happened. So Friday the 13th may in fact be returning to the big screen. I would actually bet on it at this point. I do believe that it's happening, and that it might even be further along than a lot of people think. So no, that doesn't mean there's a cast or even a script, but there's probably an idea, and there's definitely been a pitch. That has definitely happened. The question is not if it'll happen, fellas, but if it happens, what kind of movie do you want? How do you reboot Friday the 13th? What is it, 13 years after its last installment? Where do you go with this franchise? I know a lot of people will say, hey, just return to the roots, do a classic 80s Friday the 13th movie. And, I know Mike's love for Netflix and everything. I don't want to be too offensive here, but if you're going to do that, just go make a fucking Netflix movie or an Amazon Prime movie. If you're going to make another Friday the 13th movie, let's see something new and interesting and that adds to the character and the story and the lore. Don't just do the same thing. I have no interest in seeing the same thing. If they're just doing, Friday the 13th Part 3 again, but modernized, that doesn't interest me at all. I think one of the reasons these new Halloween movies hit is they're deeper told stories, more modern told stories too than the previous Halloween movies. And I would hope that Friday the 13th would do the same thing. I understand it's going to piss off some old school slasher fans. That's fine. But I think if you're bringing this movie back, it has to be more than just a slasher. What are your guys' thoughts, and what would you do with it?
You're just hating on the legacy.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
You just can't handle it. You got some shitty views on this matter.
I mean, personally, I think they should kind of extend the story where, somebody else maybe takes the mask from Jason and, reboots the whole franchise that way.
Uh-oh. I can't tell if Johnny's fucking lose it or...
Particularly for me, I mean...
we're on the free channel. I'm going to just bite my tongue and say...
No. Go ahead, Johnny.
Honestly, though,
go ahead, Johnny.
Tommy's right though. Just fucking do a Friday the 13th movie the way it should be done. I mean, put some teenagers in a cabin somewhere and send Jason to kill them. I mean,
Yeah,
we already know his origin story.
I'm kind of in the same boat as those two for this first film. I mean, the bad thing about Friday the 13th is they don't have their Sidney Prescott, they don't have their Jamie Lee Curtis, or you know what I mean. They don't. Who is that outside of Jason? They just
did they kill off Tommy? I can't remember.
I was going to say Tommy Jarvis.
They have to it, but he's not the level of the other two.
Agreed.
But he'd be an old man by now.
I just think if they're going to bring back this movie, I'm okay with them going the classic route for this first film. And I really want them in this first film to start to, if there's not going to be any holdups down the line, build off of this first film. You know, if you try your best to establish a person that you can build off of that can be in 3 or 4 movies. You know, I think Friday the 13th deserves that as a franchise, and it's obviously something that we haven't gotten outside of, like Sean said, Tommy Jarvis. And I think one of the reasons, you know, that the new Halloween movies hit is because they do tell a deeper story. They dive a little bit deeper into Laurie Strode's story, and you know, I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna be hard to do something totally different for this first film, or at least something that comes to mind. So I'm interested to see what Sean wants them to do, because I don't know where they can go outside of having something to really kind of kickstart this a new series of movies. I was somebody who really enjoyed the 2009 movie a lot. It's very high on my Friday the 13th list. Granted, that's not hard. No offense to Friday the 13th fans, but there's just not that many films in the franchise that are good. So I enjoyed 2009. I like what they did with that, and obviously the lawsuit came, and you know, that battle win, and you know, hopefully we can get something to where we can get 3 or 4 movies out, and we can establish something great like this Halloween, David Gordon Green's Halloween series or the new Scream series. You know, hopefully we can build on characters like that in films going forward that Friday the 13th hasn't had as a franchise.
I don't at all want it to be like the new Halloween movies. I wouldn't want it to be like gritty, and I wouldn't want it to be like story. Like, I would want to see like an updated version of practical effects where just stupid, crazy kills happen, where he fucking cuts a person in half and they fucking fall halfway one way. Like, I would want it to be like an updated version of the cheesiness of like slasher movies. And that, like, I wouldn't want it to be the same, but I would want it to be like an updated version of, just kind of what Jared said, where like, all you need is like, for some reason, for teenagers to be like, oh, let's drink and have sex, and like, that's all you need. And then for some reason, Jason's there. It doesn't really have to be a complicated reason. They fucking renamed Camp Crystal Lake Camp Happiness and fucking hippie shit. And then people went back there because nothing's happened in a long time. Everyone forgot. He comes and kills them in the craziest ways that don't make any goddamn sense. Like, that's like, I would want to see the kills just be really weird, because I feel like, like Freddy is kind of about how the kills are weird or whatever, but he operates in a way that is fantastical and whatever. But I feel like Freddy is known for his quips and his jokes and his goofiness. Michael, like, I wouldn't want to see Michael in a goofy type of way. You know, obviously when that does happen, it's not good and people don't like it. But like Jason punching someone's head right off their shoulders, or, you know, like all sorts of crazy things. I would just love to see him fucking... The kills are the main thing. I feel like the kills are the main thing in that franchise. How cool are they? How do they happen? I would love to see him like pick up a person like a fucking baseball bat and just swing it into another person, and they both fucking explode in a glorious fucking ridiculous practical effects, no CGI, and that's what I'd want to see. I'd rather see something like that.
I
So
guess
you're
I guess
saying
the
you'd
only
rather
problem
watch actors explode each other?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess the only problem with
Watch a
that
Michael Bay movie.
is, are you going to be able to build several movies off of that with no story base? You're
You
just
won't
not
be able
going
to build one successful.
They-
That's the only problem. I'm not
They
saying you're
did it.
wrong or that that's a bad idea as far as the kills. I'm just saying I don't know in today's time if you're going to be able to get 3 movies out of something like that. I mean, I'm not saying, like I said,
Maybe not.
It sounds cool, but I don't know if the plan is to come back and just do one film.
I don't know if like that doesn't have to mean that there can't be characters that escape. Like it doesn't mean that there has to be characters that, you know, don't want revenge. Maybe they kind of redo and have have Tommy Jarvis in it and kind of do like a soft reboot, and he's the only one who escapes the first movie, and then he comes back for revenge. Like, I'm not saying no story. I'm just saying they don't need to be like diving into every character who was ever in the in the movie. Like, they brought back every single Halloween character, like every single one they could plausibly do, and made it into a big story about the whole town and whatever. And I think I love those movies. I think it's great. But like, I also think that Halloween movies have a good story and they have different characters, and they're trying to figure out, just like in Freddy's movies, they're trying to figure out how to kill him and whatever. Jason's are just like, fucking get rid of him, somehow get away. That's all. They're just trying to escape. They're not like, oh, let's figure out why he wears the mask and how do we do this and whatever. It's just running away from him constantly. And I feel like there doesn't need to be a big, crazy story. I mean, we're going to get Halloween Ends. We already know we're going to get some sort of crazy, off-the-wall twist that we're all going to hate or love. And, like, of course, that's what they wanted to do. Like, they were giving us little hints about things in these movies already. Oh, well, like, you know, this is what happened in the past. Why is he looking out the window? Why is he returning to his house? Oh, he didn't really go after Laurie. He was doing this. And, like, I don't care at all what Jason's doing. I don't care why. It's easy to explain. Like, it's already been explained, and it's its own thing. It doesn't need to happen. We don't need to find out the mystery.
I get what you're saying. I know others want to jump on this, so I'll make this quick. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to see that stuff. It's cool. But if you're bringing the franchise back, that's not why you're bringing it back. That does not sell. The average going audience doesn't give a shit about that shit anymore. I'm just being honest. In 2022, those movies do not sell. They end up on Netflix in some B-roll that hardly anybody ever views. When I say,
I want a Netflix movie, then, God damn it!
I just think they're going to go serious with it. Something more serious. It's not like you can't have insane kills. I think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, and it's the one with Jessica Biel anyway.
Yeah.
I think that has a more serious tone than the original movie does. And yet there's still really fucking insane kills, but the movie itself is a darker, more dramatic tone to it. And I think that you can probably expect something like that from Friday the 13th. And if I had to bet, just look at what The Exorcist is doing, look at what Halloween's doing, look at what Texas Chainsaw Massacre did. My guess is they're going to more than likely just make a sequel to the first or possibly even the second movie.
My guess is, if we're going to jump in, and this is just me, is I pick it up after 4. I think that's the point where you've introduced Tommy, so you can bring him back as that legacy character. Obviously, you recast him because, you know, we're not using Corey Feldman as a star in a 2022 film. That's not happening.
Wait, we're not?
Unless it is going direct to Amazon Prime.
Netflix, Corey Feldman.
So,
I'd watch it just for Corey Feldman.
I think you can bring him in there, and I think that, you know, with the time frame in this era of people, you can sort of meld the worlds of storylines we had in Halloween and how we brought that back versus how we, you know, come back to Friday the 13th, and, you know, a documentary podcast, you know, taking Tommy back to Crystal Lake. You know, it's been 30 years. You know, there's been no Jason in 30 years. They think they actually killed him. Now we take Tommy back to Crystal Lake, and you can play the story out in such a way that at the end of it, the general population sort of has that ambiguity of, Tommy was the one who went crazy and killed all these people. In reality, it's Jason, which sort of allows you to open up for sequels where people can take that chance on Crystal Lake. And we're going to reopen the camp. It's been 35 years. There's Jason Voorhees is gone. There's no, whatever. And then you can pick back up from that in sort of a way where, you keep the canon, you keep the established, you keep the important things. Because by the end of 4, Jason's got the mask, he's got the machete, he's got the coveralls, he's got everything that makes Jason Jason. He's not, if you pick this up after 1, he doesn't have the mask yet. He's wearing a burlap sack on his head. That's too far back. And if you eliminate 1, I mean, okay, fine. But I think if you cut it off at the end of the final chapter, which was 4, then that's a good place, because that was a self-contained arc that ends with the death of Jason Voorhees, or so we think. And I think that's a good place to pick the story back up from, because you do have Tommy, at the end of that, staring into the camera and looking a little out there, so you can play off that and, take him back to the camp and, have him wig out and go a little crazy for the cameras so that, when people see the footage, they think he's the one who went crazy and did all these things. And I think it'd be an interesting, dichotomy to the story, that you play, that the general population, thinks this is just Tommy gone crazy. It's been 30 years. He's lived with this for his whole life. I think it'd be interesting. I think it would be a fun story to tell, so that you have sort of that story element. Because he can't just be, okay, it's been 30 years, we're going to open up the camp and Jason's going to go nuts on all the new counselors who like to have sex. That's not going to work. There's not enough story there. I mean, could you make the characters interesting enough that, that does fly? Sure, you could, but, I think you need that legacy tie that takes it back. And in this case, it's a character, not a specific person. I mean, I think Tommy as a character is much more, he is akin to the Friday the 13th franchise as far as, characters who go. He was in 4 or 5 movies. So he is a big part of the film. So, I mean, yes, we'd be canceling out all of those appearances but 1, but still, I think he's the legacy bridge, and that's the place to pick it up from.
You'd be canceling out the best Friday film, in my opinion, but
I
don't think that's a bad idea.
They're all going to get canceled. They're most of them anyways. I like Johnny's idea, and as a Friday fan, I would be on board for that. But in terms of getting the general audience into it, they're never going to be like, hey, go watch these 3 or 4 movies and then come watch this movie. That's just not the way things work anymore.
I don't think
it's a
multiverse. You wouldn't have to.
That's the reason that Halloween. Yeah, but that's the reason. The thing that Halloween has.
None of them have done that though.
But like Halloween has Jamie Lee Curtis, so even like people who don't know Halloween, they know Jamie Lee Curtis, and like, okay, I'm gonna go watch this film, a good horror film. At least I know Jamie Lee Curtis. At least I know her.
Okay, so assume there's no A-list stars that want to come back for a Friday the 13th film.
Then you would.
How do you pull in a new performer that's maybe a B-list star that will still get asses in the seats? Like, who would that person be? I'd have no idea. You're not getting, Jake Gyllenhaal's not going to do Friday the 13th. The only reason he was even an option for Halloween is because of the tie to David Gordon Green and Jamie Lee Curtis. That's it.
I think there's. I don't know if you'll be able to get a Jake Gyllenhaal. To be honest with you, I think that you would have to. I don't know. I kind of go back to what I said. I think the best thing to do is build off of a new character. I think, and like I said, I think Scream did a good job with Jenna Ortega. Now, at least in the first film, she wasn't the main person in that film. But if they can get somebody like her or somebody that's been here recently in a big Netflix show or something like that that's young and is a good actress and can bring them in that a lot of people know. Like this is never going to happen because I'm sure her schedule's been, but like if you got a Millie Bobby Brown, or if you got somebody that is, it sucks, but you're gonna have to have that A star or B star, or at least a name that people know that will drag them into the film, especially if you can't get a legacy character. So if you can get somebody
no,
like
I get
that,
that's pretty much the idea that I was gonna have. I pretty much was gonna say exactly what you said. If you can't get someone that's a big movie star, then you get someone who's been in something recent that's going to be a name that's out there. It doesn't have to be someone who's already making like ridiculous amounts of money. Like probably can't get Millie Bobby Brown, but can they get the girl who plays Max? And then everybody jumps, like everybody knows who that is. Everyone knows who that is because everyone's watching Stranger Things, and she's not a big movie star or anything like that, right? You have to get someone like that, and I feel like, even in Halloween 2009, they got the guy from that show that Sean likes or whatever.
Oh, yeah, Friday the 13th remake. Yeah, they had Jared Padalecki, Super Dad.
Yeah, how long was that out at the time? Was that in the middle of its run?
Yeah, well, they were already going into their fourth season, so the show was already pretty big at that point.
Yeah, so but he wasn't a big movie star, and he's not a big movie star now. But that show had lots of fans, so it still would have brought people in to be like, oh yeah, I love that guy. He's from this show I love. You don't have to pay him a ton of money though. So
I don't know. They could probably get, like, I agree with you. They probably wouldn't be able to get a Millie Bobby Brown. They could probably get a Sadie Sink. That's a good call out. And I would go see her. I would be interested in that because I thought she did great in the last two Fear Street movies, and obviously in Stranger Things. So that's somebody that would intrigue me. But if you can get somebody like that is well known, that has been inside, like I thought Friday the 13th did a great job with the supernatural character, and like Sean said, in the midst of season 4, right around that time. So people knew who he was and he had a following, but he might not have been that A-list movie star. You know what I mean? So that was a great casting, and I thought he was great in that film.
Maybe they don't go that route just because they already have gone that route and it didn't work, which I still to this day don't understand why it didn't work, because I think the remake is by far the best put together Friday the 13th movie. Like when you take the same way that we do Overlook Drive-In, when you break down all the categories like that, if we did that for Friday the 13th movies, I know that would be number one on my list. So I don't get it. Jared and Tom, you've been pretty quiet on Friday the 13th. What do you guys want to see, and what do you think we're likely to see?
I think definitely it's going to be something that resets the canon, honestly. I think it's been too long for them to pick up from the previous reboot. So I don't think they're going to start from the original movie and move that far out. I think you're more likely just to see Jason be this guy who comes out of nowhere, more like what a Halloween 78 did, and see what happens with it. I think they're likely to stick with the classical formula, maybe a few modern tweaks, some modern film work, stuff like that. But I think the plot will be a classical-like one. And folks will go see it because it'll be something to see and it'll have the brand name on it.
Jared, where are you with Friday, man?
I mean, the history obviously is there, but I think they need just a normal Friday the 13th movie to kick it off. And then if they want to start introducing some legacy characters or, pointing out the past, then it's in the public eye again. Then they can say, hey, did you see the last Friday the 13th movie? Yeah, but now we got to check out all these other movies. And then they can kind of start speaking to the audience that way, because they can't really expect, it's a whole new generation of people who's going to check out the new movie who have really no idea the history of the franchise. you can't expect them to go back and watch all 12 movies. But if they do a first movie to reintroduce the character of Jason and get people into, hey, this guy in a hockey mask is just wasting these teenagers, let's see what else they've got. And then they can start playing with it a bit more and, acknowledging, hey, Jason has mommy issues, or, there's this Tommy guy, and, kind of get it in the public eye again. And then you can kind of play with what exists out there and kind of, do a little nod here and there that we might get that, somebody else might go over somebody else's head, but we would know because we've seen the films. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan. I would rent the VHS tape when I was 8 years old, and yeah, it was good times.
What is this VHS tape?
Okay, so it was this thing that had it was like a plastic case, and you would put film in it,
and your VCR
and
would
sometimes you'd use a butter knife if it got stuck, and you'd have to kind of wind it up so it's tight.
Is that one of those things you blew on to try to make it work?
Sometimes.
I see.
I can't with these young.
And then Sean, you said a VCR.
Oh my God! Enough with you, Brad. I want Tommy B back. Also on the Jared Padalecki front, I'll be honest. That movie couldn't afford him up front now. That's an actor getting paid 6 figures per episode on the show that he does, and he's the producer of it.
I think you're grossly overestimating his value to a film.
No, not at all, man. Look at if they go cheap budget, where you have to have everything in for $10 million, you're not getting an A-list guy unless they believe in the script that you're doing.
I don't think Jared Padalecki is an A-list guy.
Neither do I. But I don't get where you're going with that point. Like, at the end of the day, if you're
gonna have to pay him at least a couple mil.
Yeah, you're not getting him for less than that, and he'd probably accept a back end deal. Guys like that would probably accept a back end deal. Name your hit TV show or whatever. But they're not going to have a budget, no matter who this is made by, to go get some A-list person up front. So whoever signs on is going to have to sign on thinking the movie is going to score big at the box office. That is, at the end of the day, the only reason Jamie Lee Curtis returned. She got points on the back end.
Just give me 2.5 hours of Jason chasing Brian Baumgartner. I'm in.
Speaking of that Halloween movie, though, there's some Halloween Ends stuff out there that I want to go over quickly. It's not a primary part of the show. And then we'll dive into the other stuff we have going on tonight. Halloween Ends is expected to debut at a film festival over in Spain. And as of today, I actually got a chance to speak to someone at TIFF today, and there is no plans currently for Halloween Ends to be at TIFF this year, including Midnight Madness. Now, I mean, could that change? Possibly, but like you're like a month away from that. It's highly unlikely to happen. So those of you in the Canada area that wanted Halloween Ends to return to TIFF, like I did, that is not going to happen, more than likely anyways. And it probably means Jamie Lee Curtis is getting an award at the film festival over in Spain. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up my notes here. Phone is running slow. Fright Rags. Fright Rags has some new Halloween Ends merch coming out. The pre-order, much like last year, is going to go down in I believe it's the first week of September. They put out a little teaser trailer which shows the 2018 merch, the Halloween Kills merch, and then the Halloween Ends merch. And it looks like we get like a fiery-eyed, red-eyed Michael Myers from Halloween Ends sort of looking up. Yeah, I can do that, Tom. So yeah, there is.
He's got flaming eyes. Flaming.
Yeah, that's actually what it looks like. It's on Twitter. If you go to Friday White Rags on Twitter, they show a little snippet of the merch that is coming out. And it does look, you got to freeze frame it, but it does look cool.
Dude, I've been seeing so many Michael images with flaming eyes and all that, and I just think they're all fucking fake.
I don't know what images you're referring to, so I would have
So
to-
I've been saying I've sworn they're fan art just floating around, on Reddit and shit.
we'll have to wait and see on that front.
That totally makes sense. We tried to burn him alive. Burn him again. We didn't do it right.
Nope.
We have a Halloween Ends Patreon stream coming this Sunday night. It'll be at 9 p.m. Eastern on the channel. And gonna call it a bit of a bold prediction stream. Now, obviously, we can't predict the events that happen in the movie. But there are various other things that we can predict. And I'll lead off with this one because this isn't the hottest take of them all. I do believe Halloween Ends, in terms of like the standalone movie, is going to be the best of this trilogy. I've had time to like really sit with the story and have a chance to dissect it and see, really how I feel about it. And that doesn't mean that it fits with the trilogy. That doesn't mean that all 3 movies are going to go together, or 4 movies are going to go together. But I do think when you evaluate each one of these movies one by one, I think Halloween Ends has a chance to be the best of the bunch. But it's also very, very on the nose with Christine. So, some might say it lacks some originality at points. But Halloween Ends isn't far away now. Mike, I know you wanted to talk Halloween Ends a bit here, man. We are literally just over 2 months away from this movie coming out, which is kind of nuts already. It's insane. Where's your expectations for the film at this point, dude? And anything new on your mind in terms of the film?
Not really, man. I've had time to sit with the story as well. Obviously, I know, we know what happens in a sense. So I've had time to sit with it as well, and I'm not going to say it's going to be the best, or I have a feeling it's going to be the best of the trilogy. I really like the last 2 a lot more than I know some people did. So, but it does have me intrigued because it is different. I'm kind of with you. I don't know if it's going to fit in, how well it's going to fit in with all of this, but it's different. And it's still, I'm still on the intrigued level because I want to see where they're going to go with it, or how it's going to look on screen, I should say. So pretty intrigued. I would just go intrigued is what I'm at right now.
There's also a runtime that's out there that I don't believe is accurate. There's a lot of places saying it's accurate, but and it's just a runtime at the end of the day, so who gives a shit? But I don't believe it's accurate because the film's not in final cut yet. But it's probably approximately around that time. So, sorry, I was just reading Dean's comment. He says, heard a thing I kind of liked about the Ends trailer recently. They have possibly shot things for the trailer that won't be in the film. I
don't know about all that.
Yeah, that sounds like very wishful thinking, if I'm being completely upfront with you, Dean. Not on your behalf necessarily, but by whoever put that out there, because I can't think of anything that was shot specifically for the trailer. And if it is, it's not big. So, yeah. Anybody else want to touch on Halloween Ends? It's not really a big Halloween Ends stream tonight. We're going to have a Patreon stream dedicated to it on Sunday night, Lambkin Lame, 9 p.m. Eastern. If not, we'll outro Mike and Tommy. You sticking for Star Wars or no?
I haven't heard much Star Wars news. What we got?
I would have to refer to the notes that I sent earlier.
Yeah, might help if I had those.
It's Ewan McGregor basically spilling the beans on.
Sure, Ewan. Everybody loves Ewan McGregor, except Mike. Apparently,
So people are relaying shit info again. Damn, they should put their source. Yes, they should totally tell us who told them that, because that's how that stuff works, right?
was it us? Did we actually do it? Was it really
Dude,
us?
I've been so fucking busy the last 2 weeks. I haven't even had time to do anything. So,
Dude, I'm playing.
Mike, where can we?
Or are we real? Do we really have Reddits on the the big Halloween subreddits, and are we posting fake information? Are we those assholes?
For sure, we have nothing better to do with our time at all.
Mm-hmm.
We're the devil. Mike, where can we find you at, man? What do you got going on?
You can follow me on Twitter at MichaelBiss_ and on the Take One podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We're doing a countdown to Halloween ends. We review Halloween 2, taking a break this week, but we pick back up next week reviewing Halloween 2. So going to be a great show, just a couple of weeks away from having Sean on, and obviously the Overlook Drive-In debuts in less than 2 weeks, which we're super excited about. First episode we did was The Shining, and episode 2 is I think we decided we're gonna stick with I know what you did last summer. So I know we were thinking about maybe moving it because of the 4K release, but it's just a lot to kind of get in. So we're still gonna do episode 2 for I Know What You Did Last Summer, and we got a great lineup for the rest of the Overlook Drive-In leading up to October.
We have I Know What You Did Last Summer, Hush, Jaws, and IMAX, A Quiet Place 1 and 2, and then a month filled with Halloween. So, which we'll try to get a few people from this channel on here for those movies for sure. Anyways, thanks for doing this, man. I'll catch you next time.
All right, see y'all later.
I was gonna say his mom comment, but I decided not to. I wouldn't want to get punched in the mouth or anything virtually. Okay, so Obi-Wan
Or in
Kenobi,
the dick, it hurts more.
making Star Wars had it a couple months now that Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 was going to happen. Not that anything had started on it, but that it was going to happen. It would probably take a couple of years to come to light. And Ewan McGregor this past weekend at a convention, Ewan McGregor revealed that it's in fact very likely that Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 will be happening. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the early planning stages. No one knows what it would be about. They're a couple of years away, definitely. You won't see anything next year. But does it surprise anybody at all that they're going with an Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2 for this show? To me, it doesn't, specifically because regardless of what you think about the show, it did the highest numbers on Disney Plus. So, of course, they're
no way. I mean, the actor is really one of those all-time viral actors. I mean, folks are always have something to say. The show, it was picked up by the fan base. It was picked up presumably by your general non-hardcore Star Wars fans. So I think it all worked out very nicely, and I think a season 2 was definitely on its way regardless. I think we can expect to see that around 2025, 2026.
Oh, I don't know if it'll be that far away, but it'll be a bit of a wait.
Hope you're not seeing it next year. 2024 at minimum, right? So
yeah, I think 2024 is probably the likely target.
I mean, it only makes sense. They left things a little bit open at the end with Qui-Gon showing up. And honestly, it was a big hit for people who are not big fans of Star Wars. And I know, like, my wife personally was like, oh, now I understand where the two Star Wars trilogies connect. Like, she didn't understand some of that stuff as someone who's not really a Star Wars fan, but I make her watch it every once in a while. So she was like, oh, I get it. I get who this character is, and I get who that character is, and why they're connected. So it made a lot of sense to people who were not casual fans, I guess. It was good. As much as there was people in the crazy Star Wars fandom who were like, well, this is wrong and this is wrong. Like I always say, like the Star Wars fans, like all of my friends I know who watched it all thought it was great. So I think the general consensus was it was a great show. And then the people who have nothing better to do but go on Facebook were, of course, like, oh, well, this is stupid. So, I think it was very successful. And I think that Ewan loves playing the character and wants to come back. And he did a fantastic job. He wasn't mailing it in. He wasn't collecting a paycheck. He was fucking acting his ass off and making the character his. So I don't like, even if there was a close-ended story, a book-ended story, and it didn't look like there was a reason for him to come back, I feel like they would have figured it out. I feel like they would have been like, hey, this is making lots of money. Ewan likes it. We like it. Star Wars fan like it. The numbers are good. Let's make it happen. But that's like, even if they weren't going to do it, I feel like they were going to do it. And since they have kind of made it evident that they're going to, then it's really probably going to happen. It's just makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably something with Qui-Gon. That makes sense. Unless Liam Neeson's already has already recorded. It's going to be released soon. Actually, he's in Tales of the Jedi as older Qui-Gon, and his kid plays younger Qui-Gon. So, I think there's something to be had there for sure. I think Ewan McGregor carried that series. Like, there's other amazing parts for it, but like, I don't know if that series works as good as it did without one hell of a lead performance by somebody. He's
the only one who really banged it out of the park. And I mean, for Star Wars, you don't expect Oscar winning acting or whatever, but
Hayden
but he was. He didn't have to do anything, so it doesn't matter.
It worries me a bit, though. I want to get Johnny's thoughts on this too. I don't think Jer's seen Kenobi. I don't know if he's a Star Wars guy at all, to be honest. But there's some early reviews out for Andor. The press has gotten to see the first 4 episodes, and this is what I was worried about. Andor visually apparently makes Kenobi feel like 30 years old, and that the Kenobi show doesn't at all hold up to the look of Andor. So if they're seeing that, I really do hope they find out. Like, I don't think any of these projects should be exclusively practical or exclusively stagecraft. I think you need to have a good mix of both to make it believable. And I hope with Kenobi that, with the performance that Ewan gave, that they get a little, a few more dollars to go do some stuff practically as well.
I always like practical.
Me too. I mean, I'm telling you, I know you're not as big on that stuff, but when we start to get into Andor, there's no way you're not going to see it, because Andor looks and feels like Game of Thrones, and Kenobi at times looks like the mediocre prequels.
A video game. Yeah, it looks like a video game. And video game cutscenes are great, but they're still not the same. I mean, I'll quickly go on this because I already said, but like, one of the reasons why I really liked Eternals, and a lot of people hated it, they purposely did that. They purposely went to real places and filmed, and it's like really beautiful, and everything looks great in that movie. I think, at least. I know a lot of people hate it, so I won't even bother going on about it. But like, they made it a big deal to be like, we're not doing this in computer. We're going to these exotic, crazy locales, and that's the only way that I think Chloe Zhao was going to do it. So,
all mad respect for that, Johnny. Kenobi more than likely returning at all surprising to you?
Surprising, no. But before that, have we forgotten Vivian Lyra Blair already? Like,
okay, she was really good.
I didn't include her because I don't know if she'd be involved going forward.
No, I just meant like as far as performances in the first season go. Like, we're talking like, oh, without you, and this would have been hot trash. And well, it would have been worse. I don't think Vivian wasn't going to be Vivian if Ewan wasn't there. So that's my only stand up for that one. As far as going forward, I've got to quote King George and Hamilton. What comes next? That's the important question for me: is what comes next? We're heading into.
You have to quote someone to say what comes next.
No, I felt like getting a Hamilton quote because I was listening to the soundtrack earlier.
Just say it.
But it's we're in a period where there's very little time now. I mean, we're at 10 years, so we're 8 years before A New Hope and everything, which makes us 4 or 5 years away from Rebels.
What comes next?
Yeah, we're 9 years before A New Hope and about 4 years before Rebels at that point. To me, it has to be the Qui-Gon thing, unless they're going to remember, Andor season 2's already been announced that they're going to do this. Season 1 takes place through all different times, I believe, where season 2, they've taken 12 episodes, split it up into 4 3-episode parts, and each one of those sequences has a year in it to lead you right up to Rogue One. I honestly, as much as I love Obi-Wan, I don't know how you do another season of Kenobi and not have him complete the transition to Alec Guinness. I kind of feel like that has to happen.
That's going to be a very difficult thing to achieve,
They can only do so much, right? I mean,
even just getting Ewan himself to, the white hair and white beard stage. Obviously, you're not gonna, do weird face stuff and morph his face in Alec Guinness, but just getting him to the, old man white hair, white beard phase, which we know he was in by the time Twin Suns happened, and that was 2 years before New Hope.
In and around there. Yeah, it's close.
Maybe they'll just break the canon. Maybe that's what they'll do. They'll just
to a degree, they kind of have to, because I don't think whatever this next season is, I think it has to be a planetary thing. I don't think we can leave Tatooine again.
Oh, no.
As far as Obi-Wan goes, he can't leave Tatooine. If you want to introduce other characters to have them be a part of the story that are elsewhere, you can do that.
What show did
I'm saying without doing the same season over again, you can't leave Tatooine.
I think it depends on the journey. To me, when he goes up to Owen there at the end, he's like, all he needs now is you. That's an indication. Yeah, if Kenobi needs to go off planet, he's going the fuck off planet. I totally believe that's going to happen. And I think we're going to see a journey like Yoda went on in the Clone Wars with Qui-Gon.
And that,
I guess he didn't leave planet for that, did he? He wasn't that all in a dream sequence?
I think so.
I don't remember. It actually was happening, but because Force ghosts can appear to you in a dream and while you're conscious as well. I feel like that whole him learning to become a Force ghost was when he was unconscious in the medical bay, but maybe he wakes up. Maybe someone in the chat, whether you're live or not, can let us know below. But we do got to get moving on from Star Wars here. There's a super chat to read, but before we do, 2 pieces of information. One, Darth Plagueis is apparently confirmed for the Acolyte, so not surprising, to be honest. That made sense. It's 100 years before A New Hope, and he's is it Mune? Is that how you pronounce it? A Mune? And then
I don't know.
They change pronunciations and names and spellings so often that we'll know what it is when they tell us what it is.
Yeah, we need to see it on screen first.
Let's let them say it, and then we'll know what it is. And then we can argue the spelling and pronunciation later. As long as they don't go Korriban, Morriban on us, I don't care if you call it Moon, Mun, or Mahoon. I don't care.
And the Yuuzhan.
Jared, make an Olivia Munn joke first. Quick. Come on. Jesus Christ.
She should name her kid Batmo. No, wait, that's a different actress. Give me a minute.
Boy. Wow. And then the other bit, which some people might love this, some people might hate it. The Yu Zhan Vong is totally happening and on screen too. That's exactly where all this shit is going. I believe they're called, though. Kieran might be able to correct me. I think he's reading about it. Are they called the Grisk? Is that what they're called? I believe the High Republic hints at them. Is all I know. I haven't read the High Republic stuff, but
I'm only on like the second line of books, except for the main one, and I haven't read that yet.
So I know they don't go by the same name anymore because, I mean, the Yu Zhan Vong is quite a mouthful, but that's the Star Wars is leading to the Chiss, versus I feel like it's the Grisk, but maybe it's something else.
The Grisks are what Thrawn spoke to Vader about.
Then yes,
His things.
yes, that's them.
I just pulled up their Wookiee, and
yeah,
it doesn't describe them as like a Yu Zhan Vong type, just as sort of that species that lives in the outer rim that is terrifying and warps your mind.
Yeah. To be clear, I'm not saying there's going to be force-resistant Yu Zhan Vong because George Lucas was extremely against that portion of it.
I mean, the similarities, I guess, is they do appear to have like a hive mind, which Yu Zhan Vong didn't have a hive mind, did they? That was
Killix.
It was Killix, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess it's kind of like a blending of the two biggest species post Return of the Jedi.
Well, you had to do something in this timeline that, if they're not going to bring it up in the sequel trilogy, it must have happened very far away. And the unknown regions is where we're going with all this shit. And literally all of it. The High Republic, the Acolyte, Mandalorian, it's all going into the unknown regions and that red, whatever the hell it was in The Rise of Skywalker that pops back up in Shadows of the Sith. So yeah, lots of Star Wars coming anyways. And also House of the Dragon debuts in less than 2 weeks time. And here on the channel, we're going to have two sort of review shows for you. We're going to figure out who the teams are for each show. But on the Monday night, we will be reviewing the episode in like a full breakdown. We have all the images, let's sit down, do a round table. We're on for, an hour and a half doing every episode. But the Sunday night that the episodes that are on for House of the Dragon, House of the Empire will be live on the channel Sunday nights immediately following House of the Dragon for about half an hour, 40 minutes for just an instant reaction of the episode. So you'll be able to see that coming up. It's very, 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 very soon. It's kind of snuck up on us. Kieran, Zach, and I were talking about that last night. And apologies again to those that came out last night. My connection was complete dog shit. So I don't know what happened with it. But big thanks to Kieran and Zach for putting up with it. Toronto Freddy sends in a $5 super chat. I will love this movie if we get a post-credit scene of Michael moving the camera. I wouldn't count that out. I wouldn't count anything out at this point. Oh, you know what I just realized? Freddy is definitely an anti-spoiler guy. And, oh boy. Oof. Yeah, oof. Duck for cover. Ken says, hopefully it's not Game of Thrones Season 8. Well, Ken, we did our ranking of Game of Thrones seasons last night, and none of us had Season 8 last season. So we're definitely not those types. Tommy B, where can everybody find you at, man? Or pardon me, T. Brad, where can everybody find you at, dude?
Well, at TBrad1650. It's an old email /username/bullshit. I just decided to standard all my handles. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and other fun places. So,
like the back alley of a Spencer's.
Yeah. Someone had put it in the chat earlier. That's where you find grease, is the back of a Spencer's.
That's where you create grease.
I don't think that's grease. Just throw that out there.
If you're using grease for that stuff, you're doing something wrong.
Do not recommend, yeah.
Kenny,
all right, everybody.
Next week, because Tommy, I know, has a few things to say about this. We're going to touch on it now as Tommy goes off here. But
gasoline in the match
at Warner Brothers Discovery. Sorry, I think your question earlier was a little different. I think Kenny asked earlier what was our take on everything that was happening with HBO and Warner Brothers and all that. And I know Tommy has a lot to say about that. But...
So I'm gonna say some shit right now about this shit.
Oh boy.
Because I first heard about this several days ago. Motherfucking Warner Brothers canceled that Batgirl movie that was almost... I mean, it was shot as far as I
finished.
understand.
Yeah.
They just needed.
I don't know if the edit process was finished,
shit.
but it was in the can.
They were in post production, and they're just like, yeah, this ain't gonna work, so we're just gonna cancel the whole thing.
I want that tax money.
I can't wrap my fucking mind around it, guys. Like, they go through all this time, all these efforts. They string along the cast and the crew. And they say, oh, well, actually, you're not going to be Batgirl. You're not going to do Batman, and so on and so forth. And then we had some other colorful folks come out, and I'm not going to revisit all that right now because I'm too fucking tired to deal with that shit. But how do you fix DC films, and how do you, in general, address the whole Warner Brothers situation? Stay committed. Do what you say you're going to do. Don't announce shit that you're going to cut. Put your if you can't produce multiple films at one time, don't fucking do it. Work on one film. Do it at a moderate pace. Don't push it out in 6 months or a year, and you'll be good. Read the room. Read the room. Here we still got fucking Ezra Miller in The Flash. That movie's greenlit, still going forward. But here we got this other film that was done, just being waited on. And now it's never going to see the light of day.
I would be careful before you assume anything on the Ezra Miller front.
I think there's been official statements about that they are still moving forward with it.
I'm not saying that film isn't moving forward. I'm simply saying there are ways to remove him from that film that will be extremely costly. But I do not see them releasing that film with him in it. I don't believe it for a second. Not with everything that's gone down.
Hey, whatever. Hey, I mean, that's outside of my realm of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Doing all that.
Anyway, I mean, I want to see Michael Keaton back, but at the same time, all the other shit you cancel, I get your point. Your point is right.
Yeah. You gotta steer the court. Go the way is going to work. Don't say, well, we're going to do this, and then get lukewarm about it, and stop changing your mind. Stop changing course.
It's hard because they have, like, as much as we're all like, oh, it's a dumpster fire, it's terrible, there's things that people like. So they're like, oh, can we salvage it? Like, people like Aquaman. People enjoy Jason Momoa as Aquaman. People like the first Wonder Woman. I don't know how many people like the second Wonder Woman, but a lot of people love that. Shazam's got another movie coming out. The first Shazam movie is awesome. So it's hard to be like, this is all bad, let's get rid of it. And there's a lot of Batman, a lot of Batfleck fans out there too, that would love to see him continue. There's a lot of people who love Henry Cavill as Superman. They're just like, but this movie was bad, but this movie was good, but this movie was bad. It's really sloppy how they just tried really hard to be like, oh, Marvel has this, let's do that. And it's like they planned it out really well. It didn't start off as like, they definitely didn't start off the Marvel universe being like, we're going to make 50 movies. They're like, okay.
Let's be honest, like, the Marvel universe worked because they picked a character who at the time was a C-list superhero.
It also didn't the Marvel universe.
Well, like, people think Iron Man and they think, oh man, he's the biggest star in Marvel history. No, he is like a C-list guy. Like, he is,
It's crazy. It's crazy that that people don't remember that. Like, people who are my age are like, oh, Iron Man's always been the best. And you're like the Avengers was a crap comic. Like, people didn't even like the Avengers. Like, the X-Men.
Iron Man couldn't even support. Iron Man couldn't even support a solo Fox cartoon when everybody was getting Fox cartoons.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Remember when he
love that
popped
card.
up in the mid '90s, towards the end of the mid '90s Spider-Man TV show?
But he had his Iron Man and Friends.
He was
Fox
with
Iron
cartoon.
Man had one like that too.
See, I never
Yeah,
seen
Iron
It
that.
was
Man had
Iron
a-
Man and Friends. Like, it was Iron Man and 3 or 4 other superheroes that like
It was
nobody knew of, and you know
It was the team from the comic book Force Works.
yeah.
they
he
had,
was-
They had a female Spider-Man. There was
he's a character that the only
Hawkeye
reason
was in it. Hawkeye was on the team, which was cool.
he's a character that the only reason they still had the cinematic rights to is because nobody wanted to pay them for it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's why they didn't have the X-Men. That's why they didn't have Spider-Man. They didn't even have Captain America at the time.
Well,
You know,
and
they didn't have Hulk. They didn't have anybody.
the MCU like had its problems too. Like it's not like
They've
it went
had
off
two
without a
different
bang.
Bruce Banners, right? So
Yeah,
Yep.
no, they had to get rid of Edward Norton.
yeah.
There was the Hulk movie that failed miserably before that.
Oh, the Eric
That was
Bana
only-
movie.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
only
Mr.
like
Nanny?
5 years. It was only like 5 years removed from that one that they
It was
did.
2003, I think, for the first Hulk movie, like the Eric Bana
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, and 2008 was the
Yeah.
other one, and it was like, like they had to bet on that again, and yeah, Edward Norton didn't work out. They had to recast him.
I'll say that worked out for the better, though. I mean,
A lot of people hated some movies like Iron Man 3. A lot of people hated
I
Iron
hate
Man
that
2
movie.
and 3.
I hated what they did to the Mandarin because he was one of my favorite Iron Man villains. And it's like you crapped all over him.
I actually
And plus,
loved
it's way
that.
too expensive there.
Well, it worked out. It kind of worked out in the end, by making Trevor Slattery the phony, and they
Yeah.
redeemed him a bit in the the Hail to the King one shot where they were like, the Mandarin doesn't approve of this, and then you find out, wait, the Mandarin's a person,
Yeah,
and then you do the 10 rings, and and then you change the 10 rings to be Shang-Chi, and okay, that's a little funky, not quite what I wanted, but it works, I guess. It's better than what we had.
Let's make sure we get a chance next week, as long as nothing groundbreaking happens between now and then, to dive into this whole HBO and Warner Brothers thing and what it means for properties going forward.
I'm
And
just still
maybe
mad
a bit-
Shang-Chi didn't have Fang Foom.
but didn't they have fake Mandarin you didn't like? Isn't he in that film? I haven't
But
seen it.
because
Yeah,
by
he's
that
in the
point
film.
he was literally
he's-
that. He was fake
He's
Mandarin.
just Trevor. Yeah, he's just
Yeah, he's
Trevor
just Trevor.
at that point.
Oh, he's just Trevor. Okay.
Yeah, he's just Trevor.
I remember. I'm not the biggest comic guy, right? So like when I seen Iron Man 3,
I loved the casting and everything looked great until I saw the movie, and it's like, what the fuck is, like, he's a Justin Hammer hired actor to pretend to be the like, what?
Have you ever seen I forget the actor's name, but have you ever seen him in Shutter Island?
Sorry.
The actor who plays him, I believe, has a small part in Shutter Island.
Yeah. No, Ben Kingsley. Yeah, Ben
Yeah.
Kingsley. Yeah,
Yeah,
he played Gandhi in the Gandhi movie, which is awesome.
He's an awesome, talented actor, and I love
Yeah,
the
but
idea
the
of him as
sequel's
the
better.
Mandarin.
Gandhi 2.
Anyway, on that note, let's get T. Brad, the best staff, out of here for this evening, so we can talk some wrestling. Take it easy.
all right. Good night, everybody, and enjoy wrestling with each other.
You sick fuck. Anyway, AEW All Out's just around the corner, a little less than a month away from now, and David Meltzer can't decide what story he wants to run, and I legitimately think I trust Johnny, Kieran, and Jer more than David Meltzer at this point. So it went from Punk's in, Punk's out, Punk's in, Punk's out, and now apparently Punk's back in, but also so is Kenny Omega. I'm not sure I believe in any of it, so let's dissect some actual wrestling stuff before we get to the pervert Vince McMahon. Fellas, what the fuck is going on here? Is he guessing? It really does feel like
I'm going to
this
tell you a
guy's-
little secret about Dave Meltzer, okay? 75% of the time, he's guessing. And it's educated guesses based on 40 years
Oh, so
experience in the pro wrestling business.
He's not just fucking winging it just to troll people.
No,
No.
this is legitimate they're educated guesses from a man with experience, and if he'd present that as such, I don't think anybody would ever really have a problem with him. Because, he is winging it half the time. Like, yes, he does have his legit sources. He does have lines of communication to, the Southern California guys like the Young Bucks. And, he probably has Tony Khan's number. And, he has legit sources. So, when he says... When he directly quotes sources, he's usually pretty accurate. But it's the stuff that isn't directly attributable to sources that he just sort of says... That's when you kind of sit back and go, okay?
I mean, to be clear, to back up his point, Punk was just at a convention. Was it this weekend or last weekend? I don't remember.
C2E2 was this past weekend.
And there are several accounts of him walking through the hallways looking perfectly fine. And then you have...
He looked like, if you watch Danhausen's vlog, Punk was a big part of that.
I haven't
from
yet.
C2E2.
I've seen a few weeks.
I posted the sort of relevant section of the vlog in the Dark Match Drive group, which was Danhausen getting Punk to pay for comics because he stole the GTS, including a $25,000 ungraded Spider-Man #1. It was quite funny.
I gotta see that. Oh, man.
But he looked fine, just walking around there. But if you go back to San Diego Comic-Con, a few weeks ago, he was, reportedly seen, sort of being wheeled around in a wheelchair, behind the scenes.
I heard from there that he was seen in visible pain quite often while I was there. So I don't know if 2 weeks makes that big a difference, or he just had much better drugs at that other show.
I mean, that's the thing with feet injuries, though, right? Like, they can go from I can't stand to I can walk around pretty good in a couple weeks. Once you're into that stage of rehab, and that could very well be where he's at. But
regardless,
I think we can write off the drugs issue because that's this is still CM Punk we're talking about here. If there's one thing
prescription drugs,
he doesn't even take them.
Oh, he took
What?
D-Pack.
When he's on the road, he'll take them.
What?
I'm saying it's the difference between being able to see your own doctors versus road doctors, where you need it to keep going.
Take them Z-Packs.
He's straight edge at home.
There's a difference.
It's
No,
a
I'm
shoot.
saying.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me say. There's a difference between.
It's not
There's a
not
difference-
cheating if you're not in the same state.
No, I'm saying there's a difference between antibiotics and painkillers. There's a difference between the two, and it's a very big difference.
I guess.
Like, you're gonna give me a shot of penicillin? That's straight edge. You want to give me a shot of morphine? Not straight edge.
Straight
I'm not
edge.
saying it's
Practice
morphine.
I'm
years
just
ago.
jumping to extremes.
Punk cracked his skull 20 years ago falling off a ladder and didn't take jack shit for it. So the story goes.
The interesting thing about the one a couple weeks ago at the San Diego Comic-Con was, he was in an air boot for most of it.
Mhm.
And
Anytime he wasn't physically in front of the stage.
Imagine they redo the WrestleMania angle with Jericho, except he pours T3s on him, and he's like, fucking take these pills, god damn it.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, Punk was walking around that comic convention with his Aircast on, his AirPods in. He was chilling.
I mean, hey, I'm hopeful, obviously, but at the same time, if he does wrestle, he's not 100%. Obviously not. What's your guys'
I still
feeling?
don't think he wrestles at this point. I think, like I said, I think this ends with
I think he
whomever.
appears and that's it.
I think it's whomever is the AEW champion at the end of the main event. The Punk's music hits, he comes down, you do the champion, standoff, and there's your build to Full Gear, and that's your main event.
And then they have a ladder match with 2 belts. I can totally see I can 100%.
Hold on a minute.
see
Now, hold on a minute. This is Tony Khan we're talking about here. So a gimmick match would make sense. Therefore, he won't book it. The gimmick match will be 3 matches earlier for no reason that was booked a week before on the fly.
I would really love to see the fucking Johnny fucking Federation where perfect booking everywhere. Like, everything's goddamn perfect.
It's not about that. It's about gimmick matches. They need to mean something. You can't just be like street fight, or else you end up like, unless you're gonna go the road of ECW where every match there's no rules, where you can have street fights, you know, where matches can denigrate into street fights all the time. That's fine, but you can't just keep having a street fight every week for no reason.
Wait for it. He's on his Bret Hart fucking, tribute tour, it seems like. Moxley now, compared to Dean Ambrose, feels more like Stone Cold Steve Austin. So do we do Punk versus Moxley in a submission match where you can protect Punk's foot a bit too?
No, I think this would be the Survivor Series match where Moxley starts calling him a coward. You're ducking me. You're running away from me. You won't come back for me. You won't be here.
Did that one have the Piper finish? Was that the Piper finish?
Yes.
That one? Yeah? Okay. I couldn't remember. MSG too, right? That Survivor Series, I think?
Yeah.
No? Yeah?
Yeah.
Long time ago.
Survivor Series 96.
So I think Punk's back, but not wrestling. Johnny thinks Punk's back, but not wrestling. Jared, where do you fall?
Unless he's practically cleared, I don't think we see him.
Oh.
Because, I mean, they haven't really even acknowledged him at all since he left. It's kind of like a mention here and there, but it's not... they're not playing music videos of Punk, and they're not,
I think it's intentional that we're dropping, these references that this isn't an interim title run anymore.
Yeah.
This is the real deal. So I think we are closer
Moxley's
to
getting
the
run he
showdown.
deserved 2 years ago in front of people. And I'm glad he's getting it. But I don't know what that means for All Out, because I get that they're late with building the card, and they were late last year too. But
is it fair to say, though, that they're clearly trying to buy time to figure out what the hell is going on?
Well, you mean Tony Khan doesn't know what he's doing?
No, I think he knows what he's doing. He's just got 2 sets of plans right now as far as the world title goes, because obviously if Punk's cleared, they're going to do that, because they like the interim thing hurts Moxley to an extent, even if they're not overly pushing the fact that he's interim champion. But I think we just don't know what his backup plan is. That's the thing. I mean, Jericho is obviously a placeholder, but I couldn't tell you who they would put in with him for the pay-per-view.
I think the problem is that we are absolutely going to have another situation like last year where, we're 3 weeks out and all of a sudden it's Christian Cage main eventing All Out with Kenny Omega. And everybody kind of like, huh? And I think
it made sense. He was the first guy to beat Kenny in a year.
Okay, but the build up to it was like a week and a half. It was like 2 weeks long.
It was 3 weeks before that he beat him for the Impact title. It was the first episode of Rampage.
Yep.
But I mean, it was still quick.
Here's the thing, I'm so tired of so tired of everybody being like, no, it has to. You have to do the this, and then you have to do the that, and then you have to do the this. It's exciting. It's working. It's a great show. It's not being booked the same way that it was. It's not the Attitude Era. It's not the this. It's not the that. It's its own thing. It's being booked its own way. And it's awesome. So I don't know why everyone's complaining. Everyone's always constantly well, this isn't why are they holding this wrestler back? Why was Hook not on TV for 3 weeks and then he came back and won the belt? It's I loved it. I think I think it's awesome. He doesn't have to appear on, everyone's so angry about everything all the time. And yet they're all watching. They're all constantly coming back and being like, you know what I hated about Dynamite this week? Like, and you're like, wait, so you watched Dynamite this week? Yeah. It's working. Like, that's all. Like, it doesn't need to be, like, we don't need every program to be like, oh, well, first they have to do this, but this guy has to win the first one, and then this guy should win the second one, and then the third one's a Hell in a Cell, and the other guy wins again. And, like, it doesn't need to be done that way. It's its own, it's doing a new thing. It's not
retreading. Because I
retreading.
feel like you've just described 90% of the AEW title feuds across the board for the last year.
Hey, Karen, how many matches do you think were announced before November to Remember 2000?
Oh, man. I would assume none.
2.
That's, well, I mean...
Well, yeah, but that's different when you're not paying your talent and you have no idea who's actually going to show up.
Yeah,
but it's still
how much money do we get?
fine.
It's the same, it's my
But that's the
same
difference,
argument.
though, like,
It's my same argument that has all, like, I argue this all the time. It's the same thing. I have the same argument with Sean about everything not wrestling. He's like, are you worried about this? Are you worried about that? It's like, if it's good, if I enjoyed it, that's all. That's all that matters. Is like, I keep watching every week and I'm enjoying it. Like, does it matter if they go like, oh, well, they took this guy off TV and I hate that they did this with this guy's character, and did I watch? And was I like, oh man, I need to watch again next week? That's all that matters. It's the only thing that matters. I mean, you got to plan ahead and whatever, but you don't have to do, you do another Batman franchise, you don't have to do it the Christopher Nolan way and be like, oh, that was really awesome, let's do that again. Like, no, you're like, hey, let's do it completely different, nothing we've ever seen again. And that's, like, I think it's working. It's working. I don't know why, like, how is it not working? This company should have failed. Like, this company should have failed 5 times over, like, with the track record of anything not WWE, you know? And it's not. It's doing well.
Wait. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were saying the non-WWE guys weren't entertaining for a second. I was going to.
No, I'm saying that companies that are not WWE often fail before they get to TV or after they get to TV or once they get as good, you know, like once they get as good as WWE in a lot of areas, then they fuck up. Like,
I think they do need more premium TV time, though, so we're clear, so that, you know, you keep certain roster members happy so they aren't off of TV for 3 or 4 weeks at a time when they're not hurt and not taking time off. I've said for the longest time, I don't think Rampage works as how it is now. It feels more like, now anyways, it feels more like AEW Dark Elevation Plus, you know?
You said Ring of Honor television wrong.
Yeah, but you don't get Mance Warner on Dynamite, damn it.
I love that. That was a damn good match.
I think so I haven't seen a ton of Rampage, so I can't really comment too much on it, but all the Rampage I've seen I like because it's like, hey, these are the 3 matches that we're getting. They do a little bit more of a tale of the tape, and they do more of a wrestling show with just wrestling in the ring, which, I mean, AEW is much heavier on in the ring product and not backstage segments.
Rampage suffers from 2 major factors. One, its time slot. It's 10 p.m. on a Friday night. You know,
yeah, it's bad.
People aren't. That's date night for so many people. That's, you know, I'm hanging out with my friends night. That's, you know,
I'm in bed by then.
Sitting at home watching television isn't on a lot of Friday night plans for their demographic. Second major issue is they tape it on Wednesday night after Dynamite. So you're not starting that taping until somewhere around 11:15 to 11:30 p.m. The crowd's dead because you've already taped Dark Elevation. You've already seen Dynamite. The crowd is dead by that point. The best episodes of Rampage are the live episodes because they're live. Live television works in 2020. This isn't 1985 where you could tape your shows and have them go to air and nobody knows what's going to end. When something happens on TV, it's like, oh my God. You know, Roddy Piper whacked Jimmy Snuka with a coconut and nearly killed him. Oh my God, this is must-see television. No, because it would have been on the front page of the Wrestling Observer. It would have been all over Twitter. It would have been all over Instagram and YouTube and all these other places that by the time they actually air it, people are like, yeah, I knew it was going to happen. You know, I don't watch Rampage live on its time slot when it's taped on Wednesday because I already know the results. If a match sounds good, I'll watch it on Saturday or I'll watch it on Sunday. You know, I'm not watching it live on Friday night at 10 p.m. You know, it's not. You know, I'll watch it on a Google Drive that, you know, for $10 a month you can have access to. You know, and you know, I'm not watching it on TSN Plus, which is another factor in Canada. We don't actually have it on television. You have to have
And
a
the app
TSN.
sucks.
We have it. We have it somewhere though.
The Xbox app's not bad. I'll say that. They did update it, which actually makes it
It
better.
was garbage on Wednesday. I tried to use it to watch Dynamite. It didn't work.
Like the
And
phone
while
app
we're
or
on the subject, like, I've wanted to Rampage for a while.
That was the middle of a sentence, right? Or was that the?
I think
Say
that was
it
the
slowly,
punchline.
Kieran.
What?
Oh yeah, that's so 3 years ago, buddy. 4 years ago.
John's close to my good looks, Caleb. Highly, highly unlikely. Anyways,
How
far
was that highly unlikely?
because I don't view the world like that. Never have. It goes to show how well you know me. Jeez, I don't give a shit if you're skinny, fat, black, white, blue, green, yellow, purple, orange, or if I masturbate to you every night. It's none of your business. Anyway, Kenny Omega, is he back at All Out? Is that the goal here? Meltzer thinks so, but
It sucks because we don't know. Like, he's been super guarded about his injury, and like, we're getting reports, but they're not like, oh, I talked to Kenny, he said. They're like, word is from someone else that, you know, this is the way. Like, it's hard. I honestly think the product really needs him back right now. I don't think it's because they don't have enough guys, they don't whatever, but I feel like it's been long enough that I feel like we're almost at the crescendo of wanting him back. And I feel like after that, it's going to be like, oh yeah, that guy's back. Like, if it's in 6 months, I think it's going to be like, oh yeah, that guy's back. Okay. But I feel like right now, like, it's like, I'm at the point where I'm like tipping off. I'm like, come on, we need him back. We need him back. We need him back. And eventually it's going to be like,
I think last week was the moment. Because as much as the crowd got hyped when Hangman's music hit, Save the Young Bucks, and that was a great moment. They've been building to it for weeks, you know, both on television and BTE. If you watch that, which quite honestly you should, but it felt like that was the moment. You know, as hot as the crowd got when his I'm not Sergio's music hit. It would have been a lot bigger if that had been One Winged Angel. You know, like if you'd have heard, the One Winged Angel, if you hear that music hit, the crowd goes ape. Even more so than you do for Hangman, because Hangman is sort of tainted by his title run. You know, he's not the star they'd hoped he would be going into it. He is very much, I think it saddens me to say this, but in 5 or 6 years, we're going to look back on this first Hangman run as, they tried it, just didn't work. He's going to be that Diesel run of 95. Looked great when we started it, but by the time we got to the end, it just didn't move the needle.
It didn't move the needle downward either.
When you build a guy that hard, that long, you want to move the needle forward.
I mean, they were still selling tickets. Don't compare that shit to Diesel. Hangman had
but the difference
at least
is
half a dozen better matches than Diesel's fucking title reign.
Let's be real.
Because he watched some of it last week.
There's nobody in 1995 you put on top of that bill that's going to move tickets unless you're holding your shows exclusively in Europe with Bret Hart.
What, you mean
that's the only way you're going to sell out every night
in Massachusetts?
Well, let's be honest, though, they're not selling out arenas in the U.S. like they used to be either. We're seeing lots of photos of these tapings where you're seeing lots of, taped and powdered sections, and these are smaller buildings.
Yeah, because Punk's the fucking champ.
Same when the Hangman was champ.
No,
I mean,
I don't know. It's really hard for Livegate to be the meter now. Like,
I think the barometer is how interesting your angles are as the champion. Like, if you have the good angles, you don't necessarily need to be the top program. You don't need to be the guy on the main event. Like, if you look at, like, what's a good example here that I can draw on from history?
it's hard. It's also hard. I mean, you can get to your point after, but it's also hard because, like, we have a different experience here. When we go to a show, a WWE show in Toronto, it's packed. It's always packed. It's hard to know what the different experience is. I don't know. I don't know what wrestling is like compared in the States. Like, you think they would eat it up, but like, I go to a show in Oshawa that's headlined by the Intercontinental Champ, and nobody near the top is even in the building, and like it's 5,000 people sold out. And
yeah,
but
that's
get the B shows.
And if you
that's
go,
a repetition
if you go to
issue, though.
Toronto, if you go to Toronto for Raw, even like Raw is packed. It's fucking packed.
Well, that's
in there.
television. You can't really compare televised to untelevised.
I'm
mean,
just saying,
according-
no matter what you're doing in Canada, it's packed. It's hard for me to figure out why that is in the States, because I don't know if people aren't going to stuff like that. I don't know if it's because
It's a
only
geography
in
thing.
different areas. Like, wrestling has always been a super hot in this town, but like the next town over, like, they don't give a shit about wrestling, right? So
Yeah,
It's
Brett
a
couldn't draw shit
geography
in
thing.
Nova Scotia.
yeah.
Well, not anymore. I mean, you look to the Atlantic Grand Prix territory in the 70s and early 80s, they'd draw houses.
Yeah, because the Garlands
only-
were killing the Rougeaus.
This brings only one question up. Why don't we have a wrestling show? We could talk about this for 4 hours.
Well, one of us is definitely getting one. We'll go see how that goes from there. We'll see what happens there. We have a few things in mind. So, anyhow, Jer, maybe fill the audience in on what the latest is with Vince McMahon, and we'll go around the table with it next week in terms of like discussion, but maybe catch us up to date with what's happened and what happens next, because I think people just assumed, oh, he's gone, that's it, and that's not it, clearly.
Well, as far as creative and the CEO thing, he is absolutely
I
gone.
meant problems more so than anything.
So it came out today that Vince spent an extra $5 million on hush payments between 2005 and 2009, I believe. So that is now up to $19.6 million of hush payments that were done with company money that they now have to backtrack and set straight. So they have to go through a lot of financials, and I don't think they're going to get it done, because I believe the date to get it done was today. And, they're just coming across all this happening even more now. And Vince's second in command, John Laurinaitis, was quietly fired this past week. Because he was originally going to be the fall guy for all of this, until it came out that Vince spent company money. And so with Laurinaitis gone, that really leaves two guys left for the Vince regime that are still there, which is Bruce Pritchard and Kevin Dunn. Bruce Pritchard is a yes man, so he's probably safe as long as he doesn't ruffle too many feathers and kind of just does whatever Hunter wants. Triple H has obviously taken over the writing of the TV, as you can see in the past 2 weeks. The women's matches are longer. He's already brought back at least 3 of his talents that were fired from NXT and put them on the main roster immediately. Dexter Lumis, Karrion Kross, and Dakota Kai. So we're obviously seeing Triple H's fingerprints all over the product now. And Vince is a thing of the past outside of legitimate news headlines now. Apparently there's an HBO Real Sports story being worked on about Vince. There's the book that's coming out about Vince next March that's probably going to be delayed with all this information coming out now. It's like Vince does not exist in WWE as far as television or backstage. It's a new era. He's gone, and the only way he's mentioned now is, through the news. And I don't mean WWE.com. And it's not going to be good news for the next long while. He's in some deep shit. The SEC's looking into it. Authorities are looking into it as far as all these hush payments. And it's just going to get worse from here.
Yeah, I liked. I don't know a damn thing about Karrion Kross, but I did see that happened, and I know either last week or the week before we were talking about how long it would take to start to see some like very evident changes, and I think the overwhelming belief is that they're happening quicker than most people thought.
Yeah,
I would love to. I can't believe I'm saying that. I'd love to dive into what WWE looks like a week from now, because it is happening quicker than we thought. So who the hell knows what happens now? Fellas, that's going to do it for the show tonight. I got to get out of here. Where can everybody find everyone at? Kieran, you mentioned something before we went on air today. I don't know if you want to talk to the audience about you doing that pop-up show.
Well, I have to, because you just brought it up, you piece of shit.
No, you can say forget it.
No, I'm looking at dates to do a Rick and Morty show. We're gonna go forward probably with doing the after Rick and Morty show because it was very popular at the time. Worked out great. Had some great audience turnout. So I'm probably going to be doing a show coming up soon, just to promote that show and try to get us into what we're going to be doing. Almost like an intro to the show. It's a show before the show, just to say like, hey guys, like come in. It'll probably only be a half an hour type of show, like my show always has been for Rick and Morty, and just let people know about what's going to happen in season 6. There's been some interesting developments lately, and it'd be nice to cover them before we get into season 6, which is coming up on September 4th. So we'll have lots of content, and we'll try to add it in there with all the other stuff that's coming up or being ramped up right now.
A month ago, you didn't know if it'd be this year, and now all of a sudden you got about 3 weeks to prepare. So,
yeah, that's how Rick and Morty
crazy.
works. Every single fucking time. I don't know why they honestly, they're like, let's do it this way. And then there's definitely someone in a suit who goes, that makes no fucking sense. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you called it for like a year, and then it happened just like you called it, basically. So, oh man, Johnny, where can we find you?
They don't care.
They do what they want when they want.
You can find me here, there, and everywhere.
Yep, that's
including
it.
at Spencer's.
It's the Hose Everywhere podcast. You could or on Stitcher or whatever.
Yeah, it's Johnny's gardening show.
Hose Everywhere with Johnny.
That's right. Where we rank different garden hose and their materials and what shaft should be made out of, and how flexible should your shaft be, and do you like a hard shaft or a soft shaft, and your hoe, should it be soft and pliable or firm and wide?
And if it doesn't work, do you give it a good smack?
Jer, where can we find you at, man?
Yeah, Jerry McMahon, where can we find you?
I said smack, not pay it $5 million. You can find me at Dark Match Drive on Facebook. I linked the Facebook group for all your wrestling needs. Literally, it's endless. Plenty of memes, news, information, discussion. There's also a Google Drive There we see Kieran's tattoo of an X. Why would you get your X tattooed on you? And there is a Google Drive for $10 a month.
Implying he dated Cyclops?
You can get 5 terabytes of wrestling, and it's worth every penny if pennies still existed.
Awesome. Be sure to check
I mean,
that
you can ask
out.
2 of the guys here. They subscribe, and I'd hope they get their money's worth.
I mean, it's definitely worth it. The only reason I don't have fucking time to watch it. So I don't have time to watch
Sure.
the shit that I'm supposed to keep up with, let alone anything else. So anyways, that's going to do it for this show tonight. Friday the 13th. Is it coming back? We'll have to wait and see. Halloween ends just around the corner. House of the Dragon, less than 2 weeks away. AEW All Out. Will it feature the return of CM Punk and Kenny Omega? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. And rest in peace to the great Olivia Newton-John. Big thanks to Mike Bish and Tommy B for coming out tonight. And to Jer, Kieran, and Johnny for being here as well. Thank you to all of you who support the channel on a financial level and any level that is. But if you want to support us on that level, you can check us out at patreon.com/fandom empire. We will see you guys all next week. Good night.